I, I began my career in the sports industry 33 years ago in 1980, fresh out of college. I did not know that I was going to go into the sports industry. It was a bit of an accident. I was programming, and that programming moonlighting job led me to creating a name and address database on the campus of USC, Southern California. In no time at all, I learned that other intercollegiate athletics programs across the country needed this system, and so therein, my decision was to become the largest ticketing provider in North America. First of all, I think it is important that I got my start 33 years ago in intercollegiate athletics, which was at a time when I'd say it was about 98% male-dominated world. Because I fell into the industry, I didn't appreciate or realize that there may have been some tension between men and women in this space, but over the years, more women have stepped up to the plate. If one were to ask me, why were there so few women and so many men? Were they not welcome? Well, there were some real tensions, but I believe that at that time, our biggest challenge as women functioning in the sports industry had more to do probably with our own sense of self. Perhaps we had some insecurities about jumping into a world that was male-dominated. Perhaps we felt that our first commitment had to be to the many other challenges, family, child rearing. But society changes, and that's a good thing for all of us, because anyone with a desire has even a greater opportunity as a woman, because the female presence is emerging and creating opportunities that certainly did not exist in the past. That collaboration between men and women, we are different. We are wired differently, we think differently, and I think that there are some aspects of male behavior in business and coaching and sports that are important, and women want to be a little bit more aggressive. We don't need to be passive. We shouldn't be passive. I do not think, though, that we want to act like a man. We think differently. And to be able to use those cognitive skills that are critical for some of the traditional jobs we've done, child rearing, patience, being a virtue, are important. So I think it's that balance, but also understanding, having enough awareness to know when there is that potential clash of gender positioning, and to be important to adjust. I like to have a saying, which is, first of all, life is not fair. That's a statement. But I like to say that when presented with an unfair situation, it's a gift, because our ability to survive an unfair situation, then we can survive anything. But the goal would be take an unfair situation and thrive. And this is how we conquer new ground. In North America, I think that we've broken down a lot of the challenges that traditionally existed. But in North America, and especially in the field in which I grew up, was college athletics, there was a lot of tension because of forced legislation. And that forced legislation is something called Title IX, which gave women's athletics equal opportunities with men. And that did not go over well in a day and age where everyone felt that the money was being made on male sports. But we've not only come to a point of accepting that, but celebrating that approach and that diversity. When I think about emerging countries and the challenges there, my biggest belief is that the collaboration, the challenge is not so much between men and women, but women believing and trusting that they have a place not only within family and home and many of those items that they still want to embrace, but importantly of their ability to have it all and to balance family and life, in particularly with sports. There will be challenges and there will be times where there is not acceptance, but more importantly is that there's equal number of times where there will be acceptance. Take that acceptance, embrace it, savor it, and create mentorships oftentimes with those men who want to celebrate the value that women growing in this sport can in fact yield for all. At the end of the day, we've got to all realize that we're working on something together. We have a common goal. And I think with any group, organization, it's about getting agreement. What is the goal? What is the job? What do we want to accomplish? And what natural talents do each of us as individuals bring? Having a clear plan up front allows individuals to own any aspect of a goal of our objective and to get that agreement so that you're there to own your own piece, but then to understand how you rely on one another. Teamwork is everything, and yes, there are more challenges oftentimes gender-based, and I think that we need to realize that left brain, right brain thinking, that we look at things differently, but sensitivity, that it's not as though, even though I like to think I'm always right, and sometimes they don't get it, if I go in with that attitude, I'm surely to have a failure. The key is definitely to be open to listen and take all input, even if up front I don't like hearing it, and trying to incorporate the best of that input so that others feel that they have ownership in the direction that we are all taking this together. I'm not so sure that I'm the one to take credit for having turned that negative situation positively, or if it was the greatness of another individual. But nonetheless, I suppose you'd say we collaborated on it and we achieved success together. And this was back in 1981 at a conference, NACDA, the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics, attended by probably a couple hundred men. And I was not a college athletics administrator, but somebody wanting to provide services to the industry. My two partners were both men. But when it came to knowing how to apply the products at that school level, I was the brain trust. And one by one, these big important athletics directors would come up and they had questions. And it did not go unbeknownst to me that their direct eye contact was with the men. They'd ask them the question, and one by one they'd say, "Jane, what do you think?" And I'd look up and say, "Well, you could probably work it like this or that." And I'd jump up and they'd listen and they'd turn back and they'd ask man to man the next question. Well, this went on for hours and actually days. And I was feeling so defeated, like I was invisible. There was no way I could ever succeed in this field. When suddenly, coming down the aisle, the legendary Jack Lingle, the coach, formerly of Marshall University. We are Marshall. Jack Lingle, another story worth looking up. He was a man's man. He was a tough former football coach. And I was afraid of him. He walked up to the booth. "How do you handle this?" Man to man. And they said, "Well, Jane." And I said, "Well, you handle it like this." He broke that contact with men to men. He looked at me. He walked away. He came over eye to eye with me. He spent the next 15 minutes never again looking at those men, but acknowledging me. I realized I had struck gold. He became one of my greatest mentors in the sports industry, and he celebrated my success, He introduced me to others. He spoke the greatness that I provided, and that was collaboration. Was that negative, me turning it into a positive, or him delivering me a positive and understanding the gift when it was given to me such that I could embrace it and take it to a new level? Sport is so much more than spectators watching a game. It changes people's lives. Whether they are the athletes, student athletes, professional athletes who provide a livelihood and deliver entertainment, whether it's the fan who is going to enjoy a moment, to be excited with success or to cry in defeat, or whether we are in the business of providing sport. Sport is a fabric of our lives. It binds together families, communities, clubs, schools. It's been around for millennia, not just centuries, and it will continue to be. It has been a male-dominated business, sport, industry, and because it has, the opportunities for women in this area have never been greater. Young women are playing as many sports activities as young men. We as women can be those role models. We can offer diversity, and we can inspire great minds and deliver the value. The time has never been better. And yes, we can have families. We can have children. We can do everything that a man has ever done as well and had a productive, rewarding, valuable career, giving back and receiving. And I'd encourage anyone who's ever considered it to explore it. The time has never been better, and it is important.